But let me start out, I am just so proud of you guys. Let me start out by congratulating all of you. I am so incredibly impressed. Congratulations, perfect church attendance in the new year. Well done. Well done. Let me sit this down. Well, I want to start our time together with a serious question. It's a serious question, and it's an uncomfortable question. So, because it's a serious, uncomfortable question, I want to give you a moment to prepare. Just take a moment and prepare. Here's the question. How many of you have ever done something that you're ashamed of? Raise your hands high. Raise them high, keep them high. Everybody look around the room, please. Look around the room. You are not alone. If you have ever done something that you are ashamed of, if you are embarrassed about that, you're not alone. Now, those of you who just raised your hand, go ahead and lean over to the person next to you and whisper exactly what it was that you did that you're so ashamed of. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Too late. Some of you know, some of you don't know, but now you will all know. I have a counselor. And over the years, my counselor has helped me to understand on a deeper level that for me, the single strongest unhealthy emotion is shame. So, yes, I do have a counselor. Yes, I do understand that is an odd way to start a sermon. But I really want to talk to you today about a topic that I believe can bring some true, genuine, God-directed healing into your life. So today, as you've heard, we start a new series of sermons, Fresh Start, a pathway to wholehearted living in the new year. So, if you have ever been tormented by the identity-warping emotion of shame, this message is for you, and my prayer for you is that today God will fill you to overflowing with an overwhelming love that forever and always washes away your shame. Sound good? The interesting thing about shame, and I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but I'm a preacher. I got all kinds of time to think about stuff like this. But while shame is not new, there was a time. There was a time when shame was new. There was a time before shame. Isn't that interesting? So if we go all the way back to the beginning of God's story, Genesis chapter 2 in the Garden of Eden, we see a powerful example of a beautiful life before shame and the tragedy of life after shame. Verse 25 is telling us about Adam and his wife, and it says, Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. And this is incredible to me. Not the naked part. Well, yeah, kind of the naked part, but more specifically, the no shame part. No shame. Because here you have this loving couple walking through the garden, enjoying the blessings and the beauty of God's great creation, and they felt no shame. They were 100% shame-free. Until that stupid serpent slithered up and tempted them to disobey God. And then sin entered the world. And when sin entered the world, suddenly, for the first time in all of history, a deep-seated sense of shame fell upon them both. So much shame, in fact, that they immediately covered themselves up and they hid from God. And they went into hiding not just because of what they did, not just because of this new confusing feeling of shame, but because Adam and Eve were experiencing history's first identity crisis. See, they mistakenly believed that because they did bad, they were bad. They had a shame-based identity crisis that negatively impacted their sense of self-worth. So here's where we need maybe to transition and talk about the difference between guilt and shame. So guilt is generally action-based. Shame, on the other hand, is identity-based. So guilt believes I did something bad. Shame believes I am bad. Guilt says I did something wrong. I did something bad. But shame then internalizes that. And it attaches to our sense of identity. Shame believes I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm dirty. So we feel guilty for what we did, but we feel ashamed of who we are. Now, before we go any further, I want to share with you a definition of shame, and I'm going to lean into an author, an expert some of you may have heard of, who has written extensively, studied shame more than anybody that I personally am aware of. Her name is Brené Brown, and here's how she defines shame. She said, shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. I'll give you a second to let that sink in. We think, after what I've done, how could God possibly love me? So something we've experienced caused us to feel unworthy, caused us to feel unworthy of love, unworthy of connection, unworthy of acceptance. And believe me, I don't even remotely pretend to claim that I know what this might be for you. I don't know. Maybe your shame is your secret. It might be the amount of financial debt you have accumulated over the years. It might be that addiction that you've been fighting and fighting and fighting. It might be that thing that you did years and years ago, and you're praying and hoping that no one ever finds out. In fact, beforehand, you were told what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And you have since discovered what happens in Vegas stays on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And because of what you did, your spiritual enemy tries to take what you did and permanently connect it to your identity, twist your self-perception, and con you into believing you are unworthy and unlovable. The devil, the enemy, continues to whisper lies into your brain. And because of what you did, you begin to question who you are. And without realizing it, we can take something that we did, or even something that someone else did to us, and wrongly connect that with our sense of identity. And we simply need to call that what it is. That is shame-based thinking. And it is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Gotta be careful with all the S words. Shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we're capable of change. So maybe you wonder how. How does shame-based thinking influence our lives? I want to give you 3 examples of how that happens, and maybe you'll see yourself in one or all of these. We'll jump right in with the first one. When we operate within the realm of shame-based thinking, we become vulnerable to perfectionism. Anybody here relate with being vulnerable to perfectionism? See, it's not at all uncommon for us to try and silence our shame with the perfect performance. Like, look how good I did. Didn't I do great? Did I earn your acceptance? Sometimes we want to silence our shame with a perfect performance. Number two, the second way. We become critical of ourselves, which then drives us to become critical of others. We're self-critical and soon become critical of others. And we've all seen it, but maybe not recognized it for what it is. Oftentimes, the most critical people are people dealing with the most shame. Because shamed people tend to shame people. I've seen it. We condemn in others the very thing we hate about ourselves. Number three, we begin using self-defeating thoughts to shield ourselves from disappointment. In other words, we tend to think worst case scenario, right? Psychologists call this catastrophizing. Say that 10 times fast. We anticipate trauma. We anticipate catastrophe. We anticipate the worst. And then if it's bad, but it's not the worst, we aren't quite as disappointed. And we think, wow, that was bad, but could have been so much worse. The problem is this kind of shame-based thinking sabotages opportunities and completely wrecks relationships. And here's why. As long as you are focused on you, you will always be vulnerable to shame. The only way to heal from shame is to shift the focus from what I'm not to who Christ is. And we see this powerfully illustrated in the Old Testament. God's people were tragically trapped in slavery. Get this. For 430 years. Can you imagine? 430 years trapped in slavery. Generation after generation after generation. Born into slavery. It's all they've ever known. I'm a slave. I feel worthless. My life is meaningless. 430 years of living and believing the lie. But then, God raised up a leader named Moses, and he miraculously delivered his children from slavery. I wonder, has God ever miraculously delivered you from something? See, the tragedy for them was, though they were outwardly free, inwardly they were still slaves. They were out of slavery, but the slavery was not out of them. Some of you are followers of Christ. You have been forgiven and set free, but you're still walking in slavery because you're still chained to your shame. You're still slaves to the shame of something that is not true about you. You still believe that you are something that God declares you are not. And that is why the only way we can heal from shame is to shift the focus from what I'm not to who Christ is. Shift the spotlight off of myself and onto my Savior. Hebrews 12:2. Here the author reveals a divine mystery, and I want you to feel the beauty and the power of three specific words. Here, Jesus is on the cross. He's preparing to give his life, and he says, for the joy set before him, he, being Jesus, he endured the cross. And then here's the three little words: scorning its shame. scorning it, despising it, loathing it, hating it, scorning the shame. This is so powerful. He scorned the shame that robs people of intimacy with God and joy in heaven. And this also has been true from the beginning. God scorned the shame in the Garden of Eden. God scorned the shame of David's adultery, Peter's denial, and Judas's betrayal. And in the very same way, God scorns the shame that crushes your soul and kills your joy. He hates the shame that you endure because of what you may have done, said, or left undone. He despises the shame of your self-doubt and your self-hatred. He scorns the shame that crushes your soul and kills your joy. The good news is Jesus, as the hero of our story, has done something about it. Jesus heroically stared shame in the face and declared, "You are nothing to me." He declared to shame, "My Father sent me to seek and to save the lost. My God sent me to give my life as a ransom for many. And that's why, shame, you have no power over me. You cannot distract me from God's goodness. You cannot discourage me. You cannot defeat me." And he claimed ultimate victory through his death and resurrection. And because of his death and resurrection, we too are made new. We can be forgiven and healed of all shame. But remember, the only way to heal from shame is to shift the focus from what you did to who Christ is. The question is, are you ready? Are you ready to do that? I would love it if you did that. I long for you to move and shift your focus from who you are and what you did to who he is and what he did. And then we start the healing together. So here's what I'm inviting you to do, and I think this will help. You don't have to do it here. You can take this thought home with you, but I'm inviting you to fill in the blank. 2 blanks. The first one, I am not blank. Fill in the blank. The next one, because of Christ, I am. Then you fill in the blank. So maybe for the first one, I am not, you might say, I am not my past mistakes. I am not who I once was. I am not horrible. I am not a failure. I am not weak. I am not broken. I am not unwanted. Then the second one, because of Christ I am. Because of Christ I am loved. I am accepted. I am forgiven. I am new. I am chosen. I am set apart. I am set free. Because of Christ I am unshackled from my shame. Joshua 5:9 puts it this way. I love this. Then the Lord said to Joshua, today, when? One more time. Today. Okay. Then the Lord said to Joshua, today I have rolled away the shame of your slavery in Egypt. He said, today I have rolled away your shame. No more shame. Today I have rolled away your shame. No more shame. Now maybe you and I have this in common. And maybe someone told you at some point in your life, and they usually do it like this. Shame on you. Shame on you. The devil man whispers, shame on you. But your loving, compassionate, caring, forgiving Father in heaven shouts, shame off you. No more shame. As of today, he's rolling away the shame. I came to tell you, because of who Jesus is and what Jesus has done, you are worthy of love. The cross was for you. The empty tomb was for you. Jesus looked through all of history, forward and back, and he saw you here sitting today. And he knew if he would endure the shame of the cross for the joy set before him, you could be set free. The joy set before him was you. Your freedom, your salvation, your redemption, your healing. He endured the shame of the cross, scorning it, so he could tell you today, you are not what you did. You are not what someone else did to you. And you are not what others say you are. You are who Christ, the risen Son of God, says you are. And I declare to you in his name, if you are in him, you are free. You are forgiven. You are changed, healed, redeemed, revived, blessed. You are complete. You are chosen. You are accepted. You are loved. No more shame. Shame off you. Because whoever the Son sets free is free indeed. Father, we thank you. We thank you that it just seems like when we open your word, it doesn't really matter what it is we happen to be struggling with. We can find healing guidance in your word. And we just want to thank you for helping us do that today. And we want to pause for a moment and just offer up a heartfelt prayer for anyone who may be struggling with this idea of shame. We pray that you would speak to them now, even in this moment, that they would feel a sense of release. They would let go. And that as they let go of their shame, may they embrace your loving acceptance. And may their identity be hidden in you. Thank you, Father. In Jesus' name, amen.